Hello everybody, my name is Jonathan Reeves from Jonathan Reeves-CAD. I'm an architect, author and Vectorworks and Twinmotion specialist based in the UK. Today I'm going to share with you my first new video on Vectorworks 2021, and there's some amazing new features that I'm really going to highlight for you. Now if you're new around here, please subscribe because I'll be making lots more videos for Vectorworks 2021 soon, but let's get into this first video looking at my top 5 new features of Vectorworks 2021. Thanks for watching. Okay, so the first new feature we're going to take a look at is the really nice improvements to user interface and the kind of way that this is going to speed you up. So one of the features that I really love is something called on-demand menus. Now normally the workflow would be you'd go up and click on a tool, say the rectangle tool, come down to the drawing and draw. Okay, if you were to learn the keyboard shortcuts for the tool, that would be a bit faster. So if you hover over the tools, you'll notice in brackets the keyboard shortcuts. So for example, if I click 6, I'll get the circle tool. If I click 2, I get the line tool. So that's great. When you learn the shortcuts, that's by far the fastest way. But not everybody finds that easy to learn. So one really nice tip is you can basically bring up on-demand menus and you can actually set a shortcut to do this. So I've set the key just to the left of the 1 key. And when I click that, you'll notice that the little menus pop up exactly where my cursor is. So this is a really nice new feature. Basically what it means is I can basically select all of the tools right where I need them on the drawing without having to actually go up to the tool palette here as I would normally have done. Now I still probably like to use the shortcuts, but as I say, not everybody does get around to learning all of those. So it just means it's a really fantastic way for you to access those tools. So let's click the shortcut again. You will notice there's 4 groups of palettes here. One is the basic sort of tool sets of drafting tools. This one here is the most sort of the modes of the particular tool that you're in. So for example, if I change that to say the circle tool, you'll notice that when I click it again and go back here, I've got all the different modes, so I can kind of swap through those dynamically as I'm drawing, which is really nice, sort of on the demand. Now I can still use the U key to cycle through the mode bar as I would have done before. And I still think that might be the quickest way for a lot of people, so I still recommend learning those shortcuts. But for those of you who aren't really shortcut people, this is a fantastic way of working. You'll notice it also comes up with the list of the last 4 tools here, which is really nice. So whatever tools you've been using quite a lot of, you'll notice that that will always be available when you kind of click and just pop to that particular corner option. I also really love the fact that you can kind of now zoom around 3D models, and because I work on a laptop quite a lot, this is absolutely fantastic. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to just turn into white mode for a moment. Let's just set that screen back to white for a second. I'm just going to show you a whole little kind of workflow for doing a bit of 3D modeling. So I'm going to start off in top plan. I'm going to try and use all the new shortcuts. So basically, let's click the key to bring up the on-demand menu. Let's go to our tool. Let's click our rectangle tool and let's draw a little wing of a house. Let's put some numbers in here. So we'll do 5 meters tab minus 8 meters. And let's just draw one more little kind of shape here. And I'll click tab and I'll immediately pop into the 3D isometric view. Because I did it while the tool was active, you can see I've already got my push-pull mode available. So I can click and push-pull this up, let's say 3 meters there, and that's really nice. Now I would like to actually push and pull this one. Okay, so rather than actually activating the push-pull tool, basically what I'm now going to do is do Command and the key next to the 1 key. I'm not sure what the technical name is, but I've set that as a shortcut. I'm going to use another fantastic option called Search. So if I search for the name of the tool, let's just start typing push. Okay, it's already got it. It immediately comes up with the on-demand menus as well as the tools. So I can double click to activate that. That means I've already selected my push-pull tool without having to go down there. And I could bring that up, say, 6 meters. So that's a very cool feature. So basically, let's just recap on this. If I click the on-demand menu, I can now spin around all the different 3D views, which is really nice. You can see, absolutely gorgeous, really quick and responsive, and you don't have to learn the shortcuts. Or if I click the on-demand menu and I start to type in something like, let's go and type in poly for polygon, polyline. Okay, let's go poly, and we're looking for tools, so if I click tools, it will filter out the menu items. That's better. I'll just go to 2D polygon. And just before I kind of start to use it, I'm just going to kind of flick my on-demand menu and go back to my isometric view now. So now I'm going to basically draw on this active face here, and you can see I've actually got the automatic plane activated. And I'm really just going to show you another super cool feature that I love. So basically what happens is when I click on this plane, let's go and snap to the midpoint there, and basically tab to 45 degrees, click to where I was, and then when I push and pull and extrude, previously this would have been a separate shape. But now with the new additions of the 3D modeling capabilities, you'll notice that it actually adds on. So let's just do that one more time. I'm going to select this front face here, click, go to the midpoint. Let's kind of go up, let's say tab, let's do 30 degrees this time. Click and then back down to where I was. Let's close the shape. I immediately got my push-pull mode and I can immediately push-pull along. And basically you'll notice it's added that shape together. So that's just one sort of volume. So that's really cool. Now, if I get my line tool, so let's do that by bringing up my on-demand menu, click, select my line, and let's just go roughly halfway here to snap, divide this surface. I'll just do that one more time. There we go. Divide that surface along that line. Now I can push and pull, immediately bring that back in, say minus 500 millimeters, and just kind of work in a very intuitive way. What I'm really looking to do, let's kind of maybe just do a little divide here. Let's just sort of perhaps push this out a tiny bit more. Let's say another meter here. Click. So you can see basically whatever tool you're selecting by using the on-demand menu, I'm just going to keep using that because I want to show that off. Let's go to my circle tool. And basically I'm going to use my U key to go through to the mode this time and just align to this point here. Click, click. Push in a little bit. Good little tip here is actually to hold down the squiggle key so it stops the snapping. And let's just go, let's say 300 millimeters, actually minus 300, I think, minus 300. And when I click, I don't have to hold anything down like we used to. It basically just immediately kind of subtracts the, the model here. Now, a really super new cool feature as well that I do want to show you is that when we right click, we can actually just go down to the edit menus here. And we can just do edit solid. So that's taken me straight in to this solid subtraction. And if I did want to either move that up or down, just going to move it down, exit the solid subtraction, you can see I'm able to edit it. I could also do that by double clicking and go edit solid or edit features. But actually it's really nice if I can just right click and do those features there. So that's fantastic. You'll also see that you can actually highlight around the model and actually get straight to the feature that you need. So that's a really cool feature. If there's lots of subtractions or additions in the model, that will really, really help. So what do you think? The new feature, the on-demand feature, I've shown you a couple of other teasers as well, but also just the ability to kind of flick through and change those views, or maybe kind of select the tool that you needed, or even just kind of the last view tools really, and select the mode. That really combined with the shortcut for the search, and I really love this global search. So basically I can start to type, it's contextual, so it kind of comes up with both commands and menus if I want it to, if I click all. But I can basically use it to select tools as well. And I think this is actually really helpful because it enables different people to learn in different ways. And basically everybody I find when I'm doing my teaching and training learns in slightly different ways. So this kind of really allows for that sort of opportunity. And I'm going to focus a bit more on this kind of feature about the 3D modelling, the push-pull type modelling that, everybody loves from SketchUp. But, with Vectorworks, this has always sort of been there. Just maybe a bit more fiddly previously when you had to hold a bunch of keys down. But you can see it's a really, really nice example. So let's just see if I can kind of get into this feature here. So I'm going to go to edit features, and basically I can immediately get in and start making some changes. In fact, I'm going to delete that shape, and let's right click, edit that feature there. Let's delete that one as well. Come back out, because what I really wanted to show you was a very nifty little feature that's not new, but basically I want to show you something that I can do by selecting all of these shapes here. I'm going to go up to my on-demand menu, so Command, my shortcut key, type in add, and I'm looking for add solid, so it's already there. I don't have to kind of find where it is in the menus. I can just invoke it from this command here. So now actually this object is one great big solid. So what I wanted to show you was the shell option, shell tool. So I'd normally go down to the shortcut, but as I'm showing you these new on-demand menus, let's do it this way. Start typing in the word shell. There it is. It's found it for me straight away. I double click, and basically I can tick to hollow out my building. And that's really, really cool. So that's a really nice new feature. I can actually edit that shell just by typing in it over in object information. Let's make it a little bit deeper. Okay, so now I'm kind of well on the way to being able to create some more interesting forms, because as soon as I push and pull and kind of hold squiggle down just so I can subtract, you can see basically Vectorworks is just enabling me to subtract that straight away. So that's a very nice new feature. And let's just do that one more time. You'll notice the push-pull mode is activated up here. So you can either add or subtract with that particular mode. Let's do an add. Let's go and snap to this point here. And let's just pull that out to there. So what do you think? I think this is a very nice feature to start with. The on-demand menus and the on-demand search capabilities which are invoked by menus. And you will notice actually if you do go up into the Vectorworks Preferences, down at the bottom are the smart options. So what you can do here is pretty cool. You can actually have icons or icons and text when you're learning, fully expanded, so lots and lots of options here. And what you can actually do is you can choose previous tools, or you could say, for example, if you're doing loads of BIM workflow, you might choose the building shell. And you might sort of choose 3D tools there. That's cool. Yeah, let's keep the tool modes there. Actually, maybe let's just change that to say dimensioning. So we'll see what happens now. We'll click OK. So basically, when I invoke the shortcut, I've still got my tools here. Those are my dimensions tools. Here you can see the building shell. And I've got my 3D tools. So depending on what workflow you're doing, what sort of stage you're at with the project, you can really tune up the interface very nicely. And you can always click on that little shortcut to get into the preferences and, very, very quickly. You can turn them off as well. So I'm really excited to see what the community come up with this new feature and how this plays out in terms of users' ability to learn Vectorworks and actually speed up their workflow. I think it's fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to using it as I go through my next few projects. Okay, so the next new feature I want to talk about, I'm going to kind of demonstrate one of my projects and a little bit about my workflow as I do this as well. So the new feature that I'm really excited about to show you is basically the idea that we can now detach palettes. Now this has a number of advantages, and basically it's very straightforward and simple. So for example, there are times when you're using your Vectorworks design layers, but you also would like to access your classes, but without having to kind of flick between them, or even worse, double click to actually access the navigation palette and go in. What you can now do with Vectorworks 2021 is essentially just drag and drop these palettes off. So if you have a bit more screen real estate, you can essentially redock them where you would like. So for example, I could drag off the classes there as well. And actually what's quite nice is I can snap those to each other, and then they kind of act as one palette. That's really, really cool. You can see, so I can basically leave those docked, and that means I can access things like my sheets over here. I've got my layers and classes available with my wonderful new sort of class filters as well. Don't forget to use these when you're working. You know, if I type in wall, hit return, it's really cool. It just filters out all the classes for me there. And if I right click, I can actually turn the hierarchy on and off, which I actually quite like doing when I'm working with my classes. But as I say, the really nice new feature here is these detachable palettes can be docked in a number of different ways. So if you click up onto the little option here, basically what you can see is the ticks of all the palettes that are docked here. So if you would like to add some more, let's say I want to add my viewports tab here, I can just do that. That then removes it from the dock down here and adds it up here completely. I can always drag it back again if needed and just park it there. And also if I close this one down, I can basically click onto the arrow and just pop down and just tell it to redock all the different elements that would normally be here. So lots of different sort of reasons this is really beneficial. The ability to actually kind of move things around, although that might make my training a little bit more tricky. So I will probably try and keep it in the same order it's always been. But as I say, I really like the fact I'm always kind of having to switch between layers and classes when I'm working. So maybe having a floating palette for the classes would be super useful. Now we can also do the same thing with the attributes up here. Now this is going to be useful because I often find that when I'm doing 3D, for example, let's just go to my 3D model. Let's kind of just navigate back to the design layer here. It'll take a second or two, and let's just spin that into 3D so you can see. And let's just turn on these other layers as well so you can see the project in its totality. It's a little project for a bungalow extension actually. So I'll just turn on the other layers there. Now, I will talk about this amazing new feature of sort of performance and speed a bit later, but you can see we're just focusing on a little bit on the 3D side. So basically what I can do now is I can drag off my 3D palette as well, and potentially dock that where I would like it. Let's just dock that into there. So lots of really cool combinations. And that means, you know, if I do want to, I can basically select something in my model. That will then highlight, so I'm not only can access the shape sort of criteria of this particular wall and adapt all of those, I can immediately get to the render tab as well. And if I wanted to, you know, scale the texture or something like that, let's just scale that up a bit on that particular wall, just for effect. You can see I've been able to do that. So I think that's a great workflow. When you've got two screens, you can obviously easily move that onto the other screen and dock it. So lots of possibilities for how we can kind of expand our workspace. And I guess what it does mean actually, now that we have the on-demand menus we looked at a moment ago, where we can actually kind of basically bring up the tools as we need them, it maybe means that you can save a bit of space over on the other side of the screen. And if you kind of use the contextual search as well, you know, maybe there's a way of using Vectorworks, haven't really tried it yet, without actually kind of really clicking on the tools like we used to in the old days. So yeah, lots of different ways to use it for new people as well as old. So let's kind of redock those back where they were. Just show you how easy to redock them. Let's just grab that tab there. Pretty straightforward. And let's just redock the render tab in there. So yeah, undockable palettes I think is a really nice little aspect. Okay, you know, you can easily reset it so you won't get into too much of a mess, but really nice ability to kind of work a bit faster. So a great new feature. So the next feature I'm going to talk about is the new interactive appearance settings. As we do that, I just want to introduce another project that I'm working on at the moment, which is a nice sketch design for a really cool earth-sheltered eco-home. And for those of you who haven't really kind of done much 3D in Vectorworks, I'm hoping that, you know, something like this might inspire you to have a go at using Vectorworks more in 3D. It's absolutely amazing for developing and presenting your design in 3D. You really don't need any other sort of 3D software apart from potentially, say, something like Twinmotion for high-end rendering. Okay, so let's have a look at the interactive appearance settings. You can see you've now got basically different interactive appearance settings for both light mode and dark mode. And you will notice within this there's a number of little tweaks. So for example, the floating data bar, what we can now do is basically highlight that into a certain colour, and we can give it different levels of opacity. Let's also go down and have a look at the, what else should we do? The rulers as well. Let's kind of give those a rather funky pink colour maybe. Let's change that opacity there as well. So when I click OK, at the moment I'm in light mode actually, so I'm not going to expect to see any changes. But let's go to normal light mode. And basically now when I click tab, you can see my data bar has come up as a sort of light blue. And that's kind of nice. It's sort of exactly the colour I wanted. If I click my rulers on, you'll see they're in pink as well. Very nice. So basically, there's only little tweaks, but people do like to be able to change the colour and the appearance. So if you're one of those people who do, you know, really like to fiddle around with the kind of settings of Vectorworks, there's an awful lot here that you can actually change to really make it kind of work for you and your eyesight and your background. And depending on whether you're on light background or a dark background, again, those colour variations do make quite a bit of difference. But don't worry, if you kind of get into a real mess, you can click reset and reset all of the interactive appearance settings. But beware, that will actually, when I click OK, have also reset some of these settings. Oh no, that's actually okay. Let's save those. So basically have a go and see if you can kind of like work with the interactive settings to kind of change some of the settings that you would actually like to get. Now this next bit isn't really a new feature, but it's something I just want to show you. But a really cool one. I just want to show you basically, I've got some views you can see, and there's a really nice effect that you can do in Vectorworks that I love to show you. And basically it's just importing an image file. Now this is actually a Twinmotion rendered image, and I'm really excited to see what happens with Vectorworks and Twinmotion in the future. The rumours are that there's a plugin being made, but we shall see when that eventually comes out. But even though there's no direct sync at the moment, you can easily export as a Cinema 4D file, and that will go into Twinmotion beautifully. So if you're interested in Twinmotion, take a look at my other website, Real-Time Rendering. Lots of information there about Twinmotion. But the new feature I really want to show you is just when you click Apply Image Effects, and basically it will actually post-edit, essentially, a bit like Photoshop, a mini kind of version of Photoshop where you can actually kind of like get in and fiddle around with the exposure, things like the soften edges, just kind of make Vectorworks much more of a presentation tool. So I really like using Vectorworks like a design sort of desktop publishing software to basically lay out my projects and my drawings. There's a few more visuals in here. You can see I was just going for a slightly sort of softer approach, but it's really nice because I can easily just turn off the image effects altogether if I want to and just go back to the original image. So I hope you enjoyed that. And the new interactive appearance settings are all available just under your Vectorworks Preferences under there. So do have a fiddle around and see what you think. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the new features of Vectorworks 2021 so far, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.